Hello, Global Theater. My name is Gerry Fialka. Today is October 21, 2025. I want to thank Rob Grant and this amazing podcast. I'm probably wrong about everything. Also want to thank Jay Paulson and James Joyce for introducing me to today's guest, Jackson Wargo, right here in the Fialka Funny Farm. We did part one here, May 13th. It's an honor and pleasure to have you back, Jackson. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you.
All right. We got a new setup here at the Fialka Funny Farm. So we're going to start off with this question, and we're going to dive into music because we just started. Last question in part one was, what is the human condition? And I said, oh, maybe the human condition is conflict. And we got into that a little. And so one element in music is silence. And George Clinton says funk is the absence of. Miles Davis talked about the space between notes. So this is Bob Dylan. Experience teaches me that silence terrifies the most. Before we get into silence, gap, the silence, is conflict the human condition? And really more so, is suffering the human condition? I've been investigating this to the point where I have this whole suffering file. and I mean, I want to go into that before we really delve into silence, but I thought it was a good intro of Bob saying experience teaches that silence terrifies the most. In terrifying, you'd think that's like a struggle. And all these people say Buddha and Dylan, everybody goes, well, you gotta struggle. And it's like, why do we have to admit there's struggle when isn't the power of positive thinking more important? So I know it's, again, sensory overload, too much information, but any direction you want to go in that regard?
I think that's a really interesting question. I know that, the first noble truth is that life is suffering, and that's the human condition. And there's a lot to be said for that. And I think there's a lot to be said to balance it, which is cool. But silence is kind of where suffering can be experienced the most. And I know music is a combination of sound and silence. And with what we in our Western society these days do is, a lot of times we have the television on or a podcast on or music on and stuff to break the silence and to get us away from that solitude. Because it can be quite uncomfortable and like an anechoic chamber. The longest ever anyone's ever been in one is to my recollection, under an hour. And the silence is really, really difficult. So I don't know. And I know we talked last time about the universe, being one, verse being song, one song. So the whole thing is music, all of creation, and the music being a combination of sound and silence is, it implies having periods of silence and stillness, and that can angry up the soul.
Right, I see what you're saying, but I think that suffering is a truth, but is it, we have to admit it, is what I'm struggling with. We have to admit it's like, no, why can't you just admit there could be not an emphasis on suffering the way Buddha, the first truth, and Dylan and all these people are saying? But to keep it in the music realm, this is Tom Waits. I like beautiful melodies telling
I
me
know this one.
terrible things. The world is a hellish place, and bad writing is destroying the quality of suffering. Isn't that ironic? Well, how can there be quality to suffering? I mean, that's ironic, and he's making a good point. But talk about that. Is there quality to suffering? There's good suffering and bad suffering. Because I'm trying to fudge and go, why can't we have not this emphasis on suffering? It's like, no, you have to have the emphasis on suffering.
Well, I have two thoughts, and I don't know how valuable they are, but one is from Aleister Crowley, the Book of the Law. He says, existence is pure joy. There are sorrows, and I'm paraphrasing, they are as shadows, but they pass and are done, and there is that which is left. And, existence is pure joy. And that is a direct counter to the first noble truth being life is suffering. I try to hold that in as best as I can. But to the Tom Waits quote, there is the phrase that we use a lot. It hurts so good. It's like there's something really cathartic or beautiful about having someone suffering, explained or articulated to you in a way that makes you feel it without, like, you can see the beauty in it, but it hurts, but it doesn't, but the beauty is what is really there, the bulk of it.
Yeah. That's Leonard Cohen saying you can't see light without a crack. Yep. But here's Roscoe Mitchell. How about that? Silence is perfect.
It sounds like an enlightened being.
but the bottom line question is, how do you know when not to play? And again, you really helped me with the wording on one of my questions, part one. I appreciate that. I don't know how to ask that question really worded the best I could. But I go, how do you know when not to play? How do you know when to incorporate silence in an activity that involves mainly putting things out? You got to, okay, I'm going to let up during this beat. Well, that beat's so short. So again, when I say, how do you know when not to play? People just go, it's intuitive. I just feel it. But there's something more to it. How is putting out music, like Music is Math Monk, saying, okay, now don't play? Any enlightenment on how to incorporate silence into an activity that's constantly being sound per se?
And I'm gonna share what I have to say, but I don't know how good I am at doing it.
Yeah.
And this is something that Kurt Heasley had told me, and it was about conversation. And like I said, universe, one song, everything is music. So, conversation is improvisation. And he had shared one time that some people speak and then stop talking and wait to speak again. And some people speak and then stop talking and listen.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that in certain conversations. I know I've done it. But both ways, I think that you can have, a better realization of what's going on in the song and the conversation and anything like that. And, you're listening. You have to stop to listen to what the hell's going on. And you can also stop and then just go, oh, I'm going to play this lick next. And one of them is going to be better than the other always. And I think we know which one it is.
Okay, here's a couple more. I'm going to do it this way because it just feels
Yeah, whatever.
awkward.
That's fine.
I think that my voice will leak in.
Okay.
This is A Wee Wee, the artist. Silence is music.
Exhibit A.
Yeah. Here's Thomas Carlyle. Speech is of time. Silence is of eternity.
I like that one.
But what does that mean? I mean, to you.
Off the top of my head, I heard something today about the body, like the physical body, being trapped in time, and the mind being outside of time.
Yeah.
In the way that the mind is able to go to the past and the future and the present, but the body isn't able to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it helps. It helps because it is, you know, the next step in silence is time in song, in music. And the question basically is, why is 4/4 time the most commonly time signature in Western music?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. That's a very good question. You know, taking a Kabbalistic route to it, you know, the ancient Hebrew name of God was fourfold.
Was what?
Fourfold. It had 4 letters.
Fourfold. Did you say FOLD?
Yes.
Fourfold.
It had 4 letters. And that was the standard for a few thousand years. And when, like, as the Kabbalists ascended and, you know, Jesus came into the mix, it was a 5-fold name.
Whoa.
And mathematically, you know, 4 is interesting because it's divisible by 2 and then can get to 12, and we have 12/8, which is both 6 and 4 at the same time. And then we have this 5-fold name, and, you know, in the Western tradition, we have base 10. So that's also useful. But to answer your question, I don't know.
I'm glad you feel comfortable, because you are in part 1. I go, this guy's a know-it-all, and I really learned a lot. But I appreciate when people say, I don't know, or I can't answer that question, because I'm not trying to put you on the spot. But I'm going to carry it on, because maybe we'll get some more. This is what some people
and I
say.
don't ever want to come across as a know-it-all.
Yeah.
If I do come across like that, please tell me. Because I certainly don't know it all. I don't know anything.
So 4/4 time is, besides being intuitive and easy, it might be because it's in sync with walking and marching and our heartbeat. Now, one guy said, well, we have 2 hands and 2 feet. So that's sort of sound, but now when it says in sync with our heartbeat rhythm, what do you think our heartbeat rhythm is in? Can you guess the time signature? Is it in 4/4 or something else?
It seems like it's about to be swung, but not quite. Bum, bum. Bum, bum. It's not. Bum, bum. It could be.
Yeah.
Depending on how you're counting. I don't know.
Yeah. And then one person
It's an
says,
interesting
no,
question.
a heartbeat is in 5/8 time. It's in 3/4 time. It's in 6/8 time. But it sounds good. You could be. Now here's Frank's apple.
Okay.
It is unnatural to play in 4/4 time. You don't speak in 4/4 time. Now that's one. Now his pal Captain Beefheart even got deeper or contributed. Beefheart liked to vary what he called the mama heartbeat because he said the same old 4/4 rhythm is related to fascism. It's so fixative, so hypnotic, so synthesized, it's dangerous to the heart. It's faster than the heart. Disco is dangerous. He wanted a non-hypnotic music to break us out of the canatonic state.
Wow.
So any of those, like Frank saying it's unnatural, we don't speak in 4/4, but it seems to be a dominant time signature in Western music where both of these guys played.
Wow, this is pretty intense. Real quick tangential thing.
Yeah.
I'm really into the band Sun, SUNN, capital O, N parenthesis, M parenthesis, M parenthesis. And I was wearing, I think I wore it in the last time we did this.
Yeah.
I was on a walk in my neighborhood and I was wearing that shirt, and this guy kind of flags me down. He was like, "Cool shirt." And I was like, "Oh, you know what this is?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he played vibraphone in Captain Beefheart's band.
Oh, so it was not Jeff Temper.
I don't know what his name was.
It was well, no, maybe it was the drummer who played with the with the Peppers early on. Anyways,
the Chili Peppers.
The drummer for the Peppers early on was an ex-Beefheart drummer, and
this guy he seemed
my age.
Yeah, about maybe closer to your age than the Chili Peppers.
Anyways, yeah, I would say, but he. Anyways, so he played, but he knew your band.
He knew, well, not my band, but the shirt I was wearing.
He knew the
Sun.
band. He knew the band Sun. Yeah.
And like I had talked to him about Scott Walker, and he had and I gave him my card. I was like, "You got to call me."
Yeah.
And he never did, but he was just out walking his dog, and he was wearing a suit and tie, and like he did not seem like he would.
Silver Lake.
No, I live in Sierra Madre.
Oh, Sierra Madre.
But yeah, I was just like,
wow,
whoa.
But you brought them up because they play in other times. Oh, because of Beefheart.
Because of Beefheart.
Okay, yeah.
And they play in no time signatures.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting.
But I'm just saying, do you think it is unnatural to play in 4/4 time? I mean, it's just, every time signature is natural, isn't
it? That's a hard question to answer.
Does Bill Evans play in 4/4 time a lot?
Of course.
Wow. So most jazz is 4/4?
Yeah, it's swung, but I mean, sometimes, his Waltz for Debbie's in 6/8.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of jazz stuff is in 4/4, but it's interesting because, like, nature seems to have an organization, and its organization seems to be chaos.
Yeah.
And we seem to impose order on chaos. I think that a lot of the talented musicians I've worked with who are untrained, like, so to speak, they know this and that, but like they're mostly just going on their gut. It seems to be a little chaotic, and sometimes there's a 7-bar phrase. Sometimes this bar has a couple extra beats, And it's only that I had that 4/4, you know, no, this is how it goes, so to speak, pressed onto me, and I took it seriously, that I've begun to think that the other things are strange. So I don't know.
Right. But you're saying, I thought you were saying you come in and you write your song and it's in 4/4 time, or it's in a time signature, and then they vary off that. You don't like that, or you want them to vary a little. You want them to show the humanity, because that's like, dude, you're not playing in time. I mean, it's like when my friend, great drummer, heard the Shags, he said, is the drummer think she has a beat, or is she purposely playing that? No, it says no, she thinks she has a beat, you know. And you know, what time signature is the Shags music in? You know, it's hard to say. I would say, I don't know. I don't know time signature that well. I just thought that was an interesting question. Why is most Western music 4/4 time? But is it, and is it a dominant pattern in all music? Oh, Eastern European is in this time, you know, polkas are in this time signature generally. Indian music, you know, is in this time signature, you know. Is it, it's back to that thing, does the language and country dictate the dominant time signature?
Well, I think that societal conditioning is heavily influential.
Yeah.
You know, everything you've heard is going to help you write everything you write musically, or say everything you say.
Yeah.
But there's also the, like, you know, we can talk about whether or not time exists.
Yeah.
As well. And, you know, in a practical sense, it does. But, you know, on a quantum level, not so much, you know? So,
well, it's back to Zappa and Joyce. They both said all times are happening now. It's called all at onceness. And they're both sort of, you know, time oriented in a way. But let's jump to this, Jackson, because you've been a performer as well as a music person, teacher, educator, composer. You perform.
mm-hmm.
Ruth Draper says the key is to bring the audience up onto the stage and into the scene with you. It is they who must give you even more than you give them in the way of imagination and creative power. That sounds good, but how do you do that?
I've never had an audience.
Oh, come on. Where we met at the poetry reading, you had people. I mean, it doesn't matter how many people there. You have played in front of people. How do you bring, is there any thoughts on how you bring the audience into the scene with you, into the music experience?
I think that, you know, I think we talked about this last time about art being a sharing of the human condition.
Yeah.
So if you're real, you know, I make mistakes constantly.
Yeah.
Performing, and I'm not shy about it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll crack a joke about it, and you know, if I'm able to and lucky enough to have composed something that speaks to someone.
Yeah.
And I don't seem like a phony up there, or whoever's performing, you know, I think that bridges the gap pretty well.
Yeah.
So, but like, you know, not that, like, I think, you know, especially in Los Angeles, you get this like holier than thou ego kind of, I'm the performer, you're the audience kind of thing that happens sometimes, which is, it really separates the whole congregation.
Yeah.
And it is no good.
But do you find that more with the audience or the performer?
I don't know that I've experienced it as a performer in the audience.
Right.
But I know sometimes, like, you know, at like open mic things, a lot of these people, you know, just like we were talking about earlier about speaking, they're just waiting to play.
Yeah.
And be praised. They don't want to have this listening and receiving experience. Yeah. So like open mics are, you know, there are some good ones, and I went to a good one last week. It was at a friend's apartment, and you know, no one was like that. And
everybody was listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was small group. It was really, really nice. But like, you know, when you go to some of these open mic nights, they're just like, they're just waiting to perform, and they don't care about anything else, and that's it. And like showcase. And that's a huge disconnect, and that's no fun for anyone. It's not even fun to perform like that, you know. Like if you have that ego or whatever, it's just like, like what are you gonna get out of that, you know?
Well, you got ESP because you anticipated this perfect follow-up. Leonard Cohen said the only way you can sell a concert is if you put yourself at risk, and if you don't do that, people know. What role does risk play in your creative process?
I've been embarrassed about damn near everything I've ever written and said.
And that's, how does embarrassment connect with risk? What is the...
I mean, you got to take a risk to embarrass yourself, to be vulnerable, right? You know, I don't know. That's a really good point, though. Like, I love that quote.
Yeah.
But that's like, you know, when you listen to Leonard Cohen, he's naked before you.
Yeah.
And flaws and all.
Yeah.
Flaws and greatness and all. And I don't know. I think that's what, you know, the most like eternal type artists tend to do.
This guy who sang with some of the best Frank Zappa albums, and Napoleon Murphy Brock, I interviewed him and I asked him that question. He says, I leave risk in the dressing room. Now, most people say I employ risk in my creative process. It's part of it. And I think in his case that he had to play really hard written music, but also there were points where he did this banter with Frank and improvise. And I think what he was saying to me was, I have to go on stage and make it look like I'm confident, like I know what I'm doing.
So yeah, he like put on a mask or something?
Well, that's what I don't know. But I mean, it's interesting that everybody answers that one way. Yes, I use risk in my creative process, except one person did. But you know, it's just trying to suss out, what does that mean? Because confidence is another thing. But what does courage mean to you now? Does it take courage to take risks?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I feel like I'm taking a risk when I compose or write something, but when I'm about to share it, that's when I like go, oh, you know, and this could go haywire here, or I could be misinterpreted, or you know, and I don't know.
Well, then the follow-up is struggle. Viola Spolin invented or helped invent comedy improv. So it's something you're involved with, improv. She was in Chicago as a social worker doing role playing with her clients. And she eventually spawned Second City, The Groundlings, and Saturday Night Live. She's like one of the founders of comedy improv. She says, if the audience cannot see your struggle to achieve something, they cannot root for you to achieve it. What role does struggle play in your creative process?
I mean, I'm sure if I spent a long time thinking about this, I might have more to say about it. But I think that me personally, I'm inspired very intensely by so many different artists, living and deceased, and I want to, I think ever since I was a kid, it was like, I want to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I want to create this level of art. And it's, there's a big bulk of the amount of time I'm not able to do it, or have to go back and change things or try again. And so that's a struggle. And so I think to me, it's competing with I don't know if it's my internal critic or, just myself in general. I think
does that keep you on your toes? You like that, or is that a downer for you? Like, oh, I should be more confident. Back to the confident. Is it? I mean, it's both probably, or whatever. But where does it float in the middle ground there?
That's a good question. I think it's definitely both.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to just be confident.
Yeah.
And then put out garbage, and be totally happy with it. I've seen artists do that where, they're really confident about something they did because they have this emotional attachment to it, which is great for them. But like, does it compete in the arena that it exists in? And that happens a lot. So like, I'm thankful to my inner critic, but I have to listen to it and understand, hey, what's actually going on here?
Yeah.
And like, only after I've dealt with my inner critic can I feel like I'm confident about something.
That's interesting. Schrader, who wrote Taxi Driver, says the role of the artist is to attempt to sell out but fail. Like, that's so funny because people go, that's cool. And I was like, well, it could be interpreted, my art is so pure that I tried to sell out, but I failed. It's like, I think Al Flipside said it even better. Don't sell out, sneak in.
I like that a lot.
So Ben Ratliff is a music writer. He says, I mean sound, as it has long functioned among jazz players, as a mystical term of art, as in every musician finally needs a sound, a full and sensible embodiment of their artistic personality, such that it can be heard at best in a single note. So in one regard, me and you could hear Miles a couple notes ago. That's Miles. So what Ben did is he whittled it down to 2 words. Miles is fragile and pointed. Coltrane is slightly undercooked and urgent.
Okay.
If a music writer or one of your peers was going to describe Jackson's sound in a couple words, what 2 words would you go, hey, they got it?
I don't know.
I don't know is 3 words. That's pretty good. But a couple words, Jackson. You are an articulate person. You use words really well. Just, someone's writing a review of your album or one of your performances, and they'll go, he was blah and blah. What 2 words would you go, hey, you would be happy with them?
Okay, so I'm gonna give you your 2 words, but not without this caveat beforehand.
Caveat is 1 word.
No,
I don't know caveat. Go ahead.
So my it's a big struggle to find one's own artistic voice.
Yeah,
and Miles has it, Coltrane has it. David Foster Wallace has it. Robert Anton Wilson has it. There's Zappa has it.
Yeah,
so many wonderful people have it.
Yeah.
I still feel in my artistic development that I'm figuring out my artistic voice. But you know, I know in the past decade, a lot of my music has been chaotic and unpredictable.
Those are two good words.
So like
Yeah.
that's what I would say. Yeah, I
good.
still don't feel comfortable in my own
I got you.
understanding of my artistic voice.
No, that's cool. It's funny because some of these questions I'm sort of begging for the person to be proud and bragatory. And at the end,
you're not going to find it here.
but it is like sometimes like, oh, I can't do that. And sometimes they're like, I'm shocked they just jump right into it. So it doesn't keep me from still asking. It's a stupid question in a lot of ways. But he wrote a book on Bill Frisell.
And Bill Frisell studied with John Damian.
Really?
Yeah, he's got a quote in the book I was telling you about, the Guitarist's Guide to Composing and Improvising.
Yeah.
It's a glowing quote, too. I'll send you a picture of it when I get home.
Yeah. So he said Ben described Bill's sound as rubbery, wobbly, and woozy. Which is fucking very accurate. Okay, in 1969, in the LA Free Press, they interviewed Zappa about Pauline Oliveros. You know her, Deep Listening? Anyways,
no,
check her out. She's an accordion player.
Oh.
And she worked with sound above the audible and below, creating a mass.
Oh.
Zappa said, not that it created a mass, it created something audible. It produced a sum indifference tone which happened to be located within the audible frequency range. By combining something so high you couldn't hear it and something so low you couldn't hear it, it yields something in the middle you could hear. Whether or not you liked what you heard in the middle is another question. The concept is brilliant. So any sussing out what Frank was talking about from Pauline Oliveros is, above and below creating a mass.
Short answer, no.
Yeah.
Long answer, maybe it speaks to something about balance.
Yeah.
We talked about extremes and the Tao symbol, and I don't know. That's a very interesting thing. It reminds me of some of the I don't know if you're familiar with Animal Collective's early stuff. Particularly Dance Manatee and Spirit They're Gone, Spirit They've Vanished. The albums I remember reading about being and listening to being hard to master because they had such incredibly high frequencies and incredibly low frequencies. I wouldn't be surprised if they were aware of this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people call them unlistenable at that point, but I think it's cool.
Yeah.
So
well, it's funny because someone once told me that is what's air conditioners are doing. They have a sound so high and so low that then you don't hear it so much that it cancels out. So there's this middle. But this goes into art and science. What's the difference between art and science? Is there a difference between art and science?
I'm not a scientist, so it's hard for me to speak to that area. But Natalie, my partner, is a scientist and an artist. It doesn't seem like there's much. There are techniques that are tried and true and have been used for a very long time.
Yeah.
And then there's an exploratory nature, there's a creativeness, there's an intuition. Not creativeness, creativity. But yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question.
Here's a couple quotes in the regard. Jean Cocteau. Art is science made clear.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can speak to it yet. I would think about that one.
Yeah.
That's cool though.
Yeah. Chomsky said, we learn more about ourselves from literature than from science.
I think that's probably true. But I love Chomsky.
Here's McLuhan. When we push our paradigms back, we get history. When we push them forward, we get science.
So, like, and correct me if I'm misunderstanding this. So we push our paradigms back and we can understand what's happened before.
Yeah.
We push it forward, we can develop new theories and test them.
That sounds a good interpretation of that. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
He was a prankster. I just repeat these because I'm always trying to figure out what people are trying to say and if it's worth it. Because here's the main thing about McLuhan was that he took aphorisms and said, well, take them a little farther.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just settle for them as an insight, flip them around. So he took Robert Browning's "Our reach should exceed our grasp, or what is heaven for?" to, and he says, "Our reach should exceed our grasp, or what is a metaphor?" So this is what the next one is Arthur Clarke.
Mm-hmm.
Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
So that's one I think about quite a bit.
Okay.
And I mean, so, and I think we talked about this last time.
Yeah.
The way Aleister Crowley defines magic is one's ability to create changes in the cosmos in conformity with will.
Yeah.
So if we have sufficient technology to create changes in the cosmos in conformity with will, it seems miraculous, magical.
Yeah.
And there will always be the people that don't understand that technological mechanism and like just call it magic,
right.
You know, and they think it's this miraculous thing, which it is, you know.
Really, how the heck can we fly?
Yeah.
How the heck can we send like communication through the air?
Yeah.
Well, here's the, Ian, you can go deeper into it because here's a couple rewordings of Arthur's. Warren Ellis, any sufficiently advanced civilization is indistinguishable from its nature.
Oh. That's, I have no problems with that. Yeah. It seems pretty ironclad.
Ironclad. And then here's Bruce Sterling. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from its garbage.
I think they both go together. Who said that one?
Bruce Sterling. He's a sci-fi writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. All right.
Okay. Here's McLuhan back to James Joyce. Joyce has solved numerous problems which science has not formulated as problems.
I can dig it.
Because that's what Tony Conrad, you know, this experimental violinist who helped Lou Reed start Velvet Underground, he said.
Is it before John Cale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, very early stage, but he said artists break rules that aren't even made yet. And so that's funny because here's Albert Einstein. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science. You know, so we talk about mystery, we talk about myth. I mean, that one line you taught me that what myth is.
Oh yeah, the it's something that's not
never
happened, but is true. Yeah,
perfect lead in because we're going to go into truth. And
I don't know who said that, but it was good.
That is a great one. But I love that one because this French archaeologist said, "Science finds no truth. It discovers unknown facts that can be interpreted 1,000 ways." But that is, what is the difference between science and art? Is one of them true and one of them's not? It's a funny little thing, especially in regards to mystery, myth, and magic. That's the fasting is in Wikipedia under pseudoscience.
Really?
And when I went to have my colonoscopy, I had to fast for a day. And I says, dude, are you guys pushing pseudoscience on me? And they're like, well, who wrote that entry? But that's a funny thing. There's degrees of fasting that people might consider pseudoscience. It's
right.
Like, how about breatharians? Do you think breatharians exist?
I don't even know that term.
It's people who don't eat, they live on breathing.
Well, I did read the autobiography of a yogi recently, Yogananda. And there's there's a character in it that he meets who doesn't eat and just
Who's a breatharian?
I mean, he didn't use that word, but like it was someone who's just, and I think she was like a Catholic, like a nun or something.
Yeah.
And is just, I think she had the stigmata, if I remember correctly. I don't know, there's some freaky shit out there, but like I also think that Joe Rogan and all his millions of hours of promoting
bullshit.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I filled it.
No, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I didn't want to say it myself. But there's people who are like, oh, intermittent fasting and do this and do that. And it's just like, fuck off, shut up.
Yeah.
That's not some people okay, if I'm going to listen to Yogananda talk about traveling halfway across the world to meet a saint who says she never eats because she meditates 20 hours a day and he believes it, and I'm like, okay, that's one thing, but like some jackass like Joe Rogan just telling your everyday Joe Schmo who doesn't have an ounce of spiritual ambition. I don't think that's the same thing.
But they can just chalk it out. Since I'm a comedian, I can do whatever I want.
And no, you can't. You're comedians are the first philosophers.
That's a no, you can't. I like that because that gets down to.
He's not funny either.
No, he used to be a comedian.
Now he's just a talking head who's really dangerous.
And so that really boils down to how do you figure out what the truth is, and that is start off with Louis Buñuel. I'm for anyone who seeks the truth, but I part ways when they claim they found it.
I think there's a lot of wisdom there.
Okay, most people say that, Jackson, and one guy finally said that's bullshit, because if I want to seek something, it's because I want to find it. Now, I know Louis got a gray area there. It's a resonating interval. But I morphed it into the question, if the journey's more important than the destination, why do we have to seek or name a destination?
That's what I was just going to say.
Wow.
The journey is the destination.
Yeah.
And it's about the friends you make along the way, like you say. Yeah, and the only thing constant is change.
Yeah.
So how can you know anything?
Well, that goes to feeling. Here's Shelby Foote. A fact is not a truth until you love it. Any comment on that one?
Oh. Fact is not. So, okay. I actually wanted to say this earlier when you mentioned facts and truth. I don't know what it is, but there's a distinction between those two terms and what they mean.
Yeah.
There's a fact and there's a like capital T truth. And I'm thinking about the Homer Simpson quote, facts schmacks, you can use facts to prove anything. It's like, you really can. So like, I'm also thinking about like Plato's world of ideas being like capital T truths,
Yeah.
and facts being the world of forms that point towards it. But there's a distinction between the two that I don't pretend to understand, but I can see like a like, hey, maybe these two things are not. And that's why you can have a bunch of facts come up with, and maybe this is why science, comes up with theories that they admit can never be proven true.
Yeah.
And it's always a theory.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in any like derogatory way, but there's always more we can find out.
Yeah. So
I don't know. That's interesting. I mean, the relationship between facts and truths are that's a, I don't know. And then, Bill Clinton, depends on what your definition of is. Is
it? Well, it's funny because one of the great McLuhan students said Marshall teased people to believe his percepts were concepts because he was in academia. That's where you have concepts. Mm-hmm. He was more a poet and a prankster, and he was saying these lines, and they were thinking he was conceptual, and he was really just perceptual. So when he said in media, and Wikipedia will say media theorist, he says, I'm not a theorist, but leave it. That's what he no, leave it that I'm a media theorist. But he wasn't. He says, I'm not a theorist. He literally said that, but he had to be it in the academic world he was in. And then Eric, his son, said it really good. The word fact, F-A-C-T, and the word fake, F-A-K-E, are both rooted in the Latin word to make.
Do you know what that word is?
We're just making shit up. Nope, I don't know. We have to look it up. Yeah. But that's called etymology.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the flip kind of Jackson. Eartha Kitt. Truth is a theory that is constantly being disproved. Only lies, it seems, go on forever. Here's Marcel Proust. On what occasion do you lie?
I don't know how to respond to that, but it's very thought-provoking and seems very redolent to my experience in the human condition.
Yeah.
I try not to lie.
Yeah.
But everything I've ever known and believed is continuously challenged by my everyday experience.
Yeah.
And, I learn a little bit more every day, so everything changes.
Yeah. They asked Tom Waits that question, on what occasion you lie, and goes, I didn't know I needed an occasion.
You asked him that?
No, it's on the last page of every Vanity Fair magazine. They asked the Proust questionnaire. So you can see it there all the time. And this woman who dresses the stars, she goes, on what occasion do you lie? She goes, that's called manners.
Okay, that
80% of people say to spare someone's feelings. That's what they usually say. Yeah. But I do get people who says, no, one person said it really goes, no, I don't want to lie, but especially I don't want to lie to myself.
I think that's the most important one. How can you be true to others if you can't be true to yourself?
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's like opportunities to just be like offering grace to someone.
Yeah.
And been like, I don't need to.
It's like my style of interview. And I was like, that's a great word, Jackson. Oh, that was great. And this one guy goes, "Quit pandering to me." And I go, "Dude, I'm sorry. That's just my style." And, it is like people don't.
Pandering's your style.
The way I go, "Oh, that was great. Yeah, thanks. That was super." The great word. It's like all words are great. But I know I do because I just want to encourage you to keep, inputting, or even saying I don't know. So.
Well, now you're kind of giving me a little anxiety. I believed you thus far.
That's like the sub-genius. Pull the wool over your
Yeah.
I knew it. There's a line in this episode. I love myself better than I love myself.
There's a line in a Montreal song. He says, "If I treated someone else the way I treat myself, I'd be in jail."
That's what I liked about part one. We'd start dueling things.
Yeah.
All we do is crack up. We just laugh. It's like Frank has another line. "You don't want to know what's behind my eyes." That is a heavy thing. Like, well, we'll just go right there and jump to that question. T.S. Eliot said poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
I like that quote.
No,
I hadn't heard it before.
Yeah. It's like, how do you out your innerness? I mean, that's what musicians are doing. Generally, I don't want to put it in words, but do you have a guess?
I think it's changing for me.
Yeah.
And I think it used my inner dialogue used to be really mean to me.
Wow.
And it's like as I mature, I get it's changing. But it used to be really critical and mean and
beat yourself up.
Yeah. Not a very friendly kind of thing to me, and I know that would come out at certain times in my life to other people, but for the most part, I was like, I don't want to make anyone feel like I make myself feel.
Yeah.
And but I don't know. Now I think it's more supportive, a little more balanced, which I think is good, but I don't know.
This woman in New York, experimental filmmaker, says, what language is your inner dialogue in? She goes, "I wish I knew." So two of my film heroes have this mantra, "Ignore yourself." Jonas Mekas says, "There is no self-expression." And Cecil Taylor says, "I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me." Is art making, music making more self-expression, or more you're a vehicle for whatever technologies, cultures, and environments are dominant?
That's an interesting question. I would like to throw in maybe a third option.
Yeah.
Where, like the muse is a part of it.
The muse is like the vehicle idea.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, it has less to do with I think it's a balance between what's going on in a higher spiritual inspiration thing, and then also like what conditioning and techniques you have available to you. And like, I don't know, I like to think the self is more of a vehicle, but I don't know.
Can art making be egoless?
At its highest form, yeah. I think it's hard to get there.
Wow.
I don't know if I've ever done it, but I believe I've experienced it.
Yeah.
I think we talked about the Greg Corso quote last time, that there are 3 levels of artistic ability. And it's in a Kerouac documentary where he talked about, I think it's called What Happened to Kerouac. And he's talking about the 3 stages of ability. And one is like talent. And it's like, oh, this guy's talent, but oh no, he didn't exercise his talent. and he fell off, and now he sucks. And it's like, oh, but this guy exercised his talent and became genius.
Yeah.
And now he's genius, but oh no, he kind of got a big head.
Yeah.
And he stopped doing the work and kind of topped out there. And he's like, and he was talking about Kerouac. It's like Kerouac achieved the third level, which is divinity.
Oh, what's the second level?
Genius.
Oh, talent, then genius, then divinity.
Divinity.
Oh, I see. That is good. That's Gregory Corso.
Mm-hmm.
That is super.
Yeah. It really inspired me when I heard that. And, I used to think talent was the highest version. And then when I understood what genius was, I was like, oh, that's the highest version. And then when I heard that quote, I was like, oh no, there's a third one that very few people get to. And I think that's what, like, Tom Waits, Frank Zappa, Dylan, Bowie, like
your guy, Bill Evans.
Easily.
But Zappa had a great one. He said, genius is stealing from others and they can't tell who you stole it from. And we know, I mean, Frank's evident. He's a Spike Jones, Edgar Varese wannabe. And we know who we got it from, but it is kind of like alchemy, transforming it to another kind of new thing, taking two, old known people, put them together, and you create a new unknown, never been around, or, it seems like this is actually part of that. Michael Apted, the filmmaker, I spoke with him 40 years ago. I says, why do rock video editors feel so obliged to edit fast? And most people don't know Abel Gance invented rapid montage in 1922, but it flourished in the 80s with MTV. And Marty Scorsese said, I cut my films faster because of MTV. Michael Apted said, because we've learned to take in information faster. Now I ask this question with a bias. Can we literally learn to take in information faster, or are we just brainwashed to believe we can?
I don't know. They're probably coked out too.
Yeah, that's a big thing in the new Marty Scorsese. So you almost died. He coked out for too many years. Thank God he cleaned up. He made more films. But I mean, you think? Well, the hidden question is: can humans multitask?
I mean, like, kinda.
Yeah, you know what people say now when I ask them that? They're tending to go, yeah, we're breathing and talking at the same time. But that is sort of like, okay, I understand that is multitasking. But I think of, you ever hear TSA, tactile situation awareness? So that is when you're a bomber driving your airplane and you get hit, you can't look at all the gauges and go, how am I going to save my life? You just act the best you can looking, it's like the big picture view of everything. And my friend said that's what kids are now. They can watch TikTok, YouTube, podcasts, Facebook, and text all at the same time.
And not mature ever.
But we don't know, because the world might get better.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is they're not identifying to one medium. Like we grew up, we identified, well, I did, with the transistor radio. We had one medium, or the telephone. But it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do the telephone, transistor, and TV all at once. We weren't doing that so much. So tactile situation awareness is what they're doing, and just swimming in all this stuff. So it is that multitasking. We want to make a value judgment, like you just said. Is it bad for you not to focus on one thing? Yeah, we don't know.
It seems like it.
It seems like it's not good.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, what do you like? If you're going to the gym, you don't do a leg press and a you know,
Yeah.
you don't do everything at the same time.
That's good. Yeah,
And
that's a good example. Going to the gym.
And the brain is a muscle.
Yeah.
And, like I've kind of like in my own experience, like growing up when I was in college, I was like, I was really into the beats and all that. And I'm reading about what they were accomplishing when they were my age at the time.
Yeah.
And they
You
were
mean Beats, the literature movie?
Yeah, Ginsberg, Kerouac.
You were making Beats.
No.
I have this thing where sometimes I tell people, you mean Beats, the literature movie?
Yeah. But yeah, like they were at my age, from what I know about them at that age, and this is not my age now, but back then, I was like, why are you guys so much more brilliant than me?
Yeah.
What were you doing? And, I had things to distract me and baby me and allow me to not mature. And, I'm a teacher, and and this is no disrespect to my students, but like I can see the younger generation growing, like maturing at a slower rate.
Yeah.
And it's probably because their attention is divided.
Yeah. What's more important, conviction or compromise?
So you keep asking either or statements, and I'm gonna keep telling you it's both ends.
What's your guess? The motive of the cave artist? That's a good laugh without speaking.
That's it. Boredom, maybe.
I do get that answer.
Ideas.
I like boredom. I get that
creativity. Like just, I don't know.
But do you think it's changed? I mean, is art motives different now than it was then?
You don't have to be quite so creative to like invent paints or invent an instrument.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. Excuse me, or invent language of the written word.
Yeah.
But, because someone else did it and it's so easily accessible and you get inspired by it in a very easy way. And then you go, oh, I want to do that, or I can do that. So I think it's changed in that way.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately I think it's changed.
Yeah. You've accomplished a lot. How do you rate these three elements in your accomplishments? Luck, skill, and ambition. What rates the top, middle, and last?
Well, I was taught when I was in high school that, and I figured out who said this, but I don't remember who it is. Luck is what happens when preparation and opportunity meet.
Yeah, that's the more you practice, the luckier you get.
Right.
Yeah.
I think ambition is a precursor to all of them.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be ambitious to start something. You have to want to do it, or you have to at least even if you don't want to do it, you have to put in the work. Yeah. And then I think you develop skill, and then you experience luck.
Good. Is perception reality?
Probably not. But I don't know what's more real than perception.
Jackson, what's one major element of your creativeness that's stayed the same and one major element that's changed in the years you've been being creative like this?
That's a good question. I like that. Thank you. I think the thing that stayed the same is I've always had someone that I really look up to, usually a few people, and they've been at my disposal. they'll take my calls, or I go to lessons with them, or I read their books or listen to their, and like I can learn from them there. That's always been a constant. And who it is has changed, from time to time, but for the last 15 years, they've mostly been the same.
Wow.
One thing that has changed is my affinity for certain genres of music or poetry or literature. I kind of, my dad always told me I would play myself out of a bunch of genres.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that, as a kid, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm always going to love this.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't been true.
Yeah.
And it's not like I dislike them, but I go, oh, what's this other thing? I've never, I've never gotten into neo soul, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then like I learn what I can from that. And then I go on to something else. And then I come back to it later. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. So it's like, I think like Hegel said, transcendence is absorption.
Is absorption. Wow.
So like I absorb it and I move beyond it, but I still contain it and can revisit it there. So like that's been a changing factor in my own trajectory.
That seems like Harold Bloom got that. He said, in Anxiety of Influence, you absorb your influence, then you abandon it. It's like, good luck. Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength, rather than we're normally taught to overcome a weakness. Tell me a weakness you turned into a strength.
Okay. I love that quote.
Yeah.
Can you say it again?
Yeah. He didn't literally say this, but it's essentially what McLuhan learned from Finnegan's Wake. Is how do you turn a breakdown into a breakthrough, or a rejection into a redirection? So Moshe said, can you identify a weakness? We're taught overcome it. No, he said, take your weakness and turn it into a strength.
Yeah, I like it because that's like absorbing it and becoming greater than it.
Yeah.
I think one for me would be like, I when I growing up, and obviously I'm still growing up, but like I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of social anxiety, a lot of self-deprecating qualities, and I would write that into my art, my poetry, my music, whatever. But it is turned into this, like, it's not that I overcame it. It's because I experienced it and I realized what the quality of it was, that I became a much more confident person and much happier, much more outgoing. And, I have a lot, not only more friends, but better friends, better quality of friends. And now I have this as a teacher. I see that same exact thing in so many of my students, that I can inspire them in a gentle way to experience this self-confidence.
Yeah.
So it's made me a better, just all around human, feel better, surround myself with better people, but also be able to inspire the next generation to feel comfortable in their human condition.
Good teacher, man.
Thank you.
This is McLuhan in 57 in that regard. It's misleading to suppose there's any basic difference between education and entertainment. It's like setting up a distinction between didactic and lyric poetry on the ground that one teaches and the other one pleases. However, it's always been true that whatever pleases teaches more effectively. So any thoughts on is there a difference between education and entertainment? In this line, whatever pleases teaches more effectively.
Yeah, I think that obviously engagement, a good teacher has to engage, to have a student learn. But, it also can take someone who's at least trying to learn or more critical thinking, or I'm hesitant to use the word wiser, to learn from an entertainment. Like, I know that when I watch television or listen to music, I'm doing it because it stimulates my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm
Not to
figuring,
chill out
yeah. But there's those other people who are just
Yeah.
they just want to turn off reality.
Yeah.
And it's I think if you go the turn off reality route, you're not going to get much out of it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be more pleasing than it is. I mean, it could still be both.
Yeah.
But
funny because one person heard that quote and goes, no, it's whatever displeases teaches more effectively. And I was shocked. I was like, wow, somebody finally challenged it. Because, that's like the teacher at CalArts saying, when you watch a bad movie, you can look at the lamps design in the set. I'm like, give me a fuck. No, but Marshall nailed it. The only trouble with cheap education is that you keep paying for it over and over again. Okay, we had a few more and we're out of here. This has been fun,
okay.
Dude.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you for having me.
My friend played or wrote comedy with Robin Williams. He said, I said to him,
is this
his name was what's his name?
Was he at the Finnegan's Wake?
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
His name is David Mish.
Okay.
And he said, when I asked him, can satire be destructive? He says, that's the job of satire. But if me or you do a cartoon in a certain country and they kill us, some people think dying is destructive. But Swift compared satire to a mirror in which people could see every face but their own. What's the function of satire?
So I don't know how to answer that, but I want to raise one point because maybe you'll have something to say to it. So Robert Anton Wilson doing the Illuminatus, and making this crazy Illuminati conspiracy in America as a joke, as a Discordian joke, to but it exists to this day. And are you familiar with Adam Curtis, the filmmaker?
Oh, sure.
So, he talks about this in his series Can't Get You Out of My Head.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time believing that Robert Anton Wilson isn't largely responsible for QAnon.
Yeah. And it's deep what you're saying because Adam Curtis, they use his DVDs for premiums on Pacifica, radical left-wing political radio. But Adam's really kind of a middle of the roader. But the way he says it is, this is what happened to you, and you're fucked. He shows the coolest footage and plays the coolest music. It's like, we're fucked. But McLuhan even nailed it way better. They go, are you an optimist or a pessimist? He goes, I'm an apocalypse. That means we're fucked. But he was positive and he thought we could progress because if you go to the etymology root word of apocalypse, it means to reveal. So all we're doing is pulling the curtain back like Toto of Atomic Dogs and saying, hey, this is what's happening behind that curtain. You decide.
That has its roots in Thelema and Kabbalah as well. I I dig that. Like, I think that's really important. And, you know, oftentimes Adam Curtis's stuff is long form and difficult to follow because he's got an encyclopedic kind of understanding and drawing from all over the place. But did Robert Anton Wilson pave the way for conspiracy theorists to, you know, I think it's hard for me to say no.
I mean, sorry to interject this, but the funny thing is the people who put the two words conspiracy and theory together were the CIA. It's in a document. It's in a document, and that sounds like a conspiracy theory. But I know the guys who know the document, and they can go, that's where it is, because they wanted to debunk JFK assassination research. So go, that's conspiracy theory. So I went through that whole era. I was all into a lot of conspiracy theories. Then now conspiracy theories, you're kook. You're kookified if you say anything. Like there was something funny in this incident or something funny in that incident. Oh, you're a kook. So they've just flipped the whole thing. I've said all along, just call it political research. Just call it research. But then they'll go, that smells like a conspiracy theory. Okay, go ahead. Use the wording that the CIA put out there to help debunk research. You're going, well, what's your source on that research? So then you just go deeper and you try to study your sources. And then you go, okay, my sources say that, your sources say that. I mean, it's endless, you know. So, I mean, I'm for grounds for further research. That's what I'm for. But it is interesting because Robert Anton Wilson is extremely important person, I think, because he combined Finnegan's Wake, McLuhan, Crowley, and humor. That's the most important thing. He was like, you know, so that's good. So in that regard, what's the function of laughter?
Makes life worth living, I guess.
That's what Gurdjieff said. It's the
It's good for the abdomen too.
Gurdjieff said it's the reconciliation of yes and no. in the last one, I said, part one, I said, Steve Allen would say, behind every joke, there's a grievance. And you went, yep. No, I don't know if it's but behind jokes, there's a grievance.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
What's the most significant difference between men and women, physical aside?
Oh.
There's a line that goes, you create what you resist. Bob Goldthwait morphed it into, you are what you hate. James Joyce said, it's a curious thing how your mind is super saturated with the religion in which you say you disbelieve. And Louis Buñuel nailed it. He said, thank God I'm an atheist. Any thoughts, Jackson, on this line? You create what you resist. Not you, Jackson, but one creates what one resists. Any thoughts on that line?
I was listening to this guy, Bashar, speak. I don't know if you know who he is, but he was talking about fear.
Bashar?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was talking about the root of fear being a belief that was ingrained at some point in your life through experience or conditioning.
Yeah.
And fear being something that challenges that belief.
Yeah.
What was the question again? I'm sorry. I'm digging deep here.
No, that's good. You create what you resist. One creates what one resists. Yeah. It's just a thought, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that like you've quote unquote created a belief or a perspective or something like that through experiential conditioning, and you know, anytime it's challenged can be very, very difficult. You have to be like, you have to create the belief.
Yeah.
that's a good thing for you, you know.
So the word believe has the word lie in the middle of it. Whoa. Okay, how do you find peace of mind?
I don't know. I'm still figuring that out. But you know, okay, honestly, people like you.
Oh, that is sweet,
Like,
dude.
no, I'm serious. Like,
Well,
these
hey.
relationships are, you know, when I don't feel good or whatever, and then I get to talk to somebody that I care about and is willing to talk about the human condition. That's the most beautiful thing that I have.
There you go. That's why I'm obsessed with doing these still. And here's 5 quick Alan Watts questions off the top of your head in just a couple words. 1, who started it all?
The one that, I mean, Alan Watts might say you did. And the other people might say God, and those two things might be the same thing.
Oh my God, that is a great answer. 2, are we going to make it?
Yeah, sure, why not?
3, where do we put it?
Over there.
4, who's cleaning it up?
Not me.
5, is it serious?
No.
You know, most people go both. for the both dude to say no, I got you good. That's enough.
That was awesome.
That was ended both. Everybody, no, but Zach Frank said, I'm very serious about being not serious.
Yeah. Yeah, and he can be very serious too.
If you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
Don't hate me. Yeah, you know, I think about that sometimes, and I'm just like, yeah, 12-year-old me would really hate me.
I gotta tell you, because she was sitting right there. Oswald's girl, not the wife, but he had this girlfriend, and she wrote this book, and you know, it's like kind of kooky conspiracy publisher, but it's a good book. And we had her speak in Venice at a, you know, situation when all the 60 conspiracy theorists of LA were there. And I go, so you're walking down the street, you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to yourself? She goes, I love you. And I fucking cried. It was so touching, because most people are like, it's gonna get better. You got a great life. Don't hate me. It's like the flip of Bruce. I love you. Don't hate me. No, you'll love this. You know, Dr. John, the great musician, he said, I won't go there, dude. It was like too voodoo for him. Okay, couple more around here.
Okay.
Utah Phillips said, anarchy is making rules for yourself and not other people. Who's entitled to make the rules? Funny, because etymologically the word freedom, it breaks down to that, making one's own rules for one's own self. What does freedom mean to you now?
It means making one's own rules for one's own self.
Very good.
And being able to say no to that which may be pleasurable but harmful. You know, like, if you're not, and I'm working on a song with an artist, and it's called How Free Do You Want to Be?
Oh wow.
And it's a really beautiful song, and like, he asks all these questions. Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And if you say no, well, then how free are you really? You know, can you, you know, one of them off the top of my head is like, can you be content without making money? You know, can you look at these other people and you know, who hurt you, who are doing well, and be happy? And like, if you can't do that, well, then you're a slave to that vice, you know. And like, you're free to do that, but if you can't, then it's something else entirely.
I got a perfect example of what you just said. I'm a dumpster diver for 30 years. People go, that's so cool. I find the most amazing shit in the world. I goes, it's horrible. I have an addiction. It's like going to Costco every day and not paying. So what if I'm paying or not? I'm addicted to consuming. And that's the horrible thing. But, you know, I'll find like mint copies of On the Road, Kerouac books, and everything you can imagine beyond you. You know, I find books explaining Finnegan's Wake in a fucking garbage can.
That's probably where most of them are.
But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I have an addiction, and it's like, yeah, it could be cool to a point, but at another point, my wife's like, get this fucking shit out.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, could you dumpster dive another outfit for me for my stage act? Okay. If a publisher was going to release your autobiography off the top of your head, what would the title be?
I was told by a friend in college that my autobiography should be called "Make the Joke at Any Cost."
No, they want to scent the glue in the binding. What smell?
Scent the glue in the binding. I have no clue. Burritos.
What?
Burritos or glue scented. I don't know.
I get glue scented. The worst thing is where I got it. I got it because Madonna's book was scented with patchouli. Oh, God. I said, that's a good question. Okay, Jackson, they want to build a statue in your honor. Where would you want it displayed?
The garbage.
And what would it be made of?
Trash at the dumpster.
Tell me something good you never had and you never want.
$1 million.
That's the three answers I get the most: money, fame, and heroin. Whoa. If you were in a vat of vomit up to your neck and someone threw a bag of shit at your face, what would you do?
Probably shit and vomit at the same time.
Add a little to the party.
I don't know. These are great questions. I love
them. Oh my God, we're down to the last two. No, we got the last four. Sorry. Tell me a question that remains unresolved for you.
Huh?
That's classic. The greatest writers in the world rated the greatest books like 20 years ago, and it's you can look it up online. This is like the best 100 books. And USA Today on the headline said Ulysses, greatest book ever. Huh? That made it. It beat out the Bible and Shakespeare.
Oh my God.
It's pretty great.
It's certainly up there. Yeah. Once you hit that divinity point, though, it's like there's no rating anymore.
How has music shaped your behavior? Playing it, teaching it, writing it, making it.
It's been a huge discipline for me and an inspiration, an outlet, and I'm very thankful that I had those things.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know who I'd be without it. I really, it's been my entire life.
Thornton Wilder, 1928. Art is confession. Art is the secret told. But art is not only the desire to tell one's secret, it's the desire to tell it and hide it at the same time. You've laid your cards on the table for over 3 hours. I'm not insinuating you haven't already answered this. What's it really all about for you?
I think that's a really good answer.
You know, what the quote implies, the artist, you reveal it and you hide it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just put in another context. I'm sort of assuming they'll go, okay, now I'm going to tell you a secret. But it's funny because you're a good listener. You heard the quote. Now when I go, what's it really all about? And they just summarize. Most people summarize what they've told me for the last 2 hours. But I mean, any thoughts? Like, what's it really all about for you, Jackson? How would you summarize that?
Well, I know I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
Trying to say what I want to say, but concealed enough so that I'm safe if it's not received well.
Yeah.
But like these days, I don't do as much of my own composition, songwriting, lyric writing.
Right.
I work more with other people.
Collabs.
So it's like and I think that might be a defense mechanism where I don't have to be as naked before people. And I get to help other people kind of articulate their visions. And, of course, I encourage them to be naked before everybody.
Dude, do it. Get out there and do it.
But I've gotten back into the groove, and I'm doing another record of my own music. But I haven't put out a record since 2019 of my own music. So like I don't know, it's different, but that quote really rings true to me. It's like so I'm telling you what I believe and also like veiling it. But like if you really pay attention, you can see it. But I wouldn't bet that you will.
It's like back to Franco, and you don't really want to know what's behind my eyes. Then why are you saying that? Because I'm trying to lure you into this mystique that artists have a deeper thing going. And that is the hidden psychic effects is the whole thing of McLuhan and Joyce. There's hidden things that language does that we're not aware of. So why don't we explore those? And then, so what gives you the most optimism?
Love and oneness, the union of opposites, the putting together that which is divided.
That is good, dude. Okay,
it's been my favorite.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Look at that. I am going to hit the end broadcast button now, and I hope this never ends and we can keep talking forever and ever.
Let's do it.